So, number 22 from Indiana. I mean, makes history quite a lot. Makes history an awful lot. And she's after making history again.
Caitlyn Clark just made history again, and this time she didn't even have to step onto the court to do it. Yup, the haters might want to grab a tub of Ben & Jerry's and a box of tissues because the tears are definitely about to flow. The Indiana Fever are already locked in for a mind-blowing 41 out of 44 games on national TV or streaming, the most ever for a single WNBA team. And those suspiciously convenient scheduling conflicts? Yeah, they're happening everywhere Caitlyn plays, magically forcing opponents to upgrade to bigger arenas to handle sold-out crowds eager to watch Clark light it up. But if you needed more proof that Caitlyn Clark is the straw stirring the entire league's drink, just wait till you hear what's coming next.
Guys, I'm here to tell you, this is the first time an exhibition game has been picked up ever in WNBA history. And we already know why they're picking up this game. This should come as no surprise to nobody why they decided to pick up this very game. And I'm here to tell you, the first letter of this young lady's name start with a C, and the last letter of this lady's last name end with a K. Caitlyn Clark, baby.
ESPN just dropped another Caitlyn-sized bombshell. They're going to broadcast the Indiana Fever's preseason game, nationally. We're talking about a preseason matchup that sold 15,000 tickets in mere minutes, now getting the primetime ESPN treatment. This is completely unprecedented. Preseason games barely get local coverage, let alone national airtime. But that's exactly what happens when Caitlyn Clark is in the mix.
First in the league in fast break points. Clark connects on a deep three.
This is exactly what the WNBA has always dreamed of: mainstream attention, packed arenas, and a massive national audience. And now, thanks almost entirely to Caitlyn Clark's undeniable star power, they're finally getting their wish. But wait, it gets even crazier. This latest bombshell about ESPN airing a preseason game comes right on the heels of some other huge developments that absolutely prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Caitlyn Clark isn't just a star, she's the star. The league might not publicly go all in, but all the signs point to many in the WNBA orbit, including past haters, embracing Caitlyn this season. Of course, with all this buzz, you know there are still haters raging against the Caitlyn cash machine. Seriously, you won't believe some of the wild stuff being thrown around out there. We're about to dive deep into all of that drama. But first, if you think at least 2 million people will tune into a WNBA preseason game, which honestly might be conservative, smash that like button. Alright, let's unpack this bonkers situation. Caitlyn Clark and the Indiana Fever have officially transcended just primetime dominance. They've become arguably the hottest ticket in all of North American sports. This isn't hype or exaggeration. They're literally the new primetime obsession. First, let's break down exactly how we got here.
With such star power on those teams, it's really no surprise they're atop the list for the most games available for you to check out on a national scale. The Fever, they lead the league with 41 games here, followed by the Aces 33, the champion Liberty at 32.
That's right, the Fever landed a mind-blowing 41 out of 44 games on national television or major streaming platforms. Whether it's ABC, ESPN, or CBS, flip on almost any sports network this season, and you'll probably catch Caitlyn Clark casually pulling up from way downtown.
Wheeler, Clark launches, hits a three! Indiana, at least in the fourth quarter, an 8-3 rebounding advantage. Clark pulls, fires, hits! 4-3.
The league has honestly never experienced this level of exposure for one player or one team. Not even close. Indiana isn't exactly a perennial contender or a huge media market, but none of that matters when you've got Caitlyn Clark, the undisputed biggest draw in the game right now. After witnessing last year's eye-popping ratings spike every time Clark stepped onto the court, TV executives basically said, yeah, give us more Caitlyn, like immediately. Flashback to her rookie campaign in 2024, when the WNBA smashed its modern viewership records, racking up over 54 million total viewers across all broadcasts. And who was the main attraction in nearly every one of the highest-rated matchups? You guessed it, Caitlyn Clark and the Fever. A regular season game featuring the Fever on ABC pulled in an incredible 2.23 million viewers, and another game on CBS topped even that with 2.25 million viewers. Those are primetime NBA numbers happening right now in women's hoops, all fueled by the Caitlyn effect. And then, just when you thought it couldn't get bigger, the playoffs arrived.
Hoping that can discourage Alyssa Thomas from making some of her great passes.
No one picks up Clark, who cans the three!
Caitlyn's first round playoff series was a ratings bonanza, pulling in bigger audiences than the rounds that followed without her. One Fever playoff game alone snagged an incredible 2.5 million viewers, easily topping even the 2024 WNBA Finals, which averaged around 1.57 million viewers. Networks like ESPN, ABC, and CBS are literally scrambling to grab a piece of the Caitlyn Clark spotlight. We're talking weekend afternoon games, primetime weeknight matchups. Basically, whenever people are watching TV, Caitlyn and the Fever will probably be there. ABC has the Fever slated 5 times this season. ESPN is airing multiple Fever games, and there are even digital exclusives just to capitalize on her massive online following. It's honestly something we've never witnessed before in the WNBA, a complete media blitz centered around a single player. This type of superstar treatment is typically reserved for NBA giants like LeBron James or Steph Curry. To see a WNBA rookie commanding this kind of attention is beyond unprecedented. It's absolutely astonishing. And hey, if your favorite WNBA team isn't the Fever, don't sweat it. You'll still catch them plenty. Just tune in whenever they're up against Caitlyn Clark. Demand for Fever road games exploded to such a degree last year that at least 6 other teams had no choice but to relocate their matchups against Indiana to significantly larger arenas. Case in point, the Dallas Wings had to shift one of their June games to a full-size 20,000-seat NBA arena just to handle the massive wave of Caitlyn-inspired fans. The Chicago Sky followed suit, deciding that their usual arena simply wasn't enough, so they moved 2 games to the iconic United Center, which holds nearly 21,000 spectators. And let's not forget the Atlanta Dream. They hilariously claimed a sudden scheduling conflict at their usual venue, conveniently bumping their Fever matchup to the much larger State Farm Arena, home of the NBA's Atlanta Hawks. Now look, I get it. You can't openly say, we're switching arenas just to cash in on a visiting superstar, but calling it a random scheduling conflict? That's a little too convenient. Fans immediately picked up on the obvious tactic, playfully labeling Caitlyn as the scheduling conflict, because apparently every arena magically gets booked solid whenever she's about to show up. But honestly, can you really fault teams for upgrading venues to capitalize on this once-in-a-generation buzz? After all, Caitlyn Clark isn't just packing seats. She's practically printing money for everyone involved.
It is no secret that the Indiana Fever are by far the most popular team in the WNBA, and I'm so glad that we are finally just, I don't know if admitting it is the right word, but they're finally acting on it. And you guys, I'm happy that they're acting on it because this news is not only just good for the Indiana Fever and Indiana Fever fans, it is good for the entire WNBA.
Caitlyn Clark isn't just a basketball player. She's a full-blown economic stimulus package for the WNBA. Let's take a quick look at what happened last season. League-wide attendance skyrocketed by a whopping 48%, with the WNBA achieving an incredible 154 sellouts, more than triple the previous year. Every arena Caitlyn visited transformed from half-empty seats to standing room-only spectacles. But nowhere was the Caitlyn effect more dramatic than with her own team, the Indiana Fever. Last year, the Fever obliterated attendance records, drawing over 340,000 fans at their home games. That's an unbelievable 319% increase from the season before. Let that sink in. A team that barely cracked 80,000 total fans in 2023 suddenly became the hottest ticket in town, hitting over 340,000 attendees in just 1 year. That, my friends, is the Caitlyn Clark phenomenon at full throttle. Look, some people might nitpick or grumble out of jealousy, but what Caitlyn has done is undeniably extraordinary for the WNBA. She's single-handedly creating a type of mainstream demand for women's basketball we've literally never witnessed before. The league is stepping into completely uncharted territory, all because one player has captured America's attention like never before. And just when you thought it couldn't possibly get more impressive, check this out. The Fever recently sold out 15,000 tickets for a preseason game in Iowa against the Brazilian national team in less than an hour. And now ESPN just upped the ante by announcing they'll broadcast that very same preseason matchup on national TV. That's right, a WNBA preseason game is going national for the first time ever. I previously suggested around 2 million viewers tuning in. Yeah, that might seem bold, but given the latest data from recent weeks, that prediction could actually be conservative. The Caitlyn Clark effect is even more enormous than we realized, and believe it or not, there are people who are seriously unhappy about all this attention she's bringing in.
And there's the buzzer. It's an even dozen for Gino Auriemma and Connecticut.
First, we had the NCAA Finals with Paige Beckers and UConn capturing the championship over South Carolina. And while people were certainly interested in Paige's comeback story and the big game atmosphere, a lot of eyes were also fixed on something else entirely: the ratings. This year marked the first NCAA tournament since Caitlyn Clark left college and turned pro. Everyone wanted to see how much of the previous year's record-shattering numbers had actually been fueled by Clark's presence. The difference turned out to be absolutely jaw-dropping, far greater than most experts predicted. This year's championship game pulled in around 8.5 million viewers. That's an impressive number by most standards, sure. But compare it to the previous year when Caitlyn Clark was front and center. That game drew an astounding 18.9 million viewers. We're talking a 10 million viewer drop-off in a single year without Caitlyn on the floor. It's not just a dip, it's a full-on nosedive. A clear indicator of the kind of magnetism and star power Caitlyn brings to the sport, and how dramatically different things feel when she's not in the mix. And as if that weren't enough to illustrate her impact, there's also this.
With the first pick in the 2025 WNBA draft, the Dallas Wings select Paige Bueckers, University of Connecticut.
In the 2025 WNBA draft, Paige Bueckers, as expected, went first overall. It was another event that drew plenty of buzz and anticipation. Now, to be fair, the ratings were pretty solid, with roughly 1.25 million viewers tuning in. But here's the kicker. ESPN, the exact same network that's now hyping up Caitlyn's preseason game, was noticeably quiet about comparing this year's draft numbers to the previous record-setting year. Why? Well, maybe because Caitlyn Clark's draft in 2024 absolutely smashed every record on the books. Last year's draft was an unprecedented ratings bonanza, and let's just say ESPN conveniently didn't want to remind viewers that Paige's big night was only the second most watched WNBA draft, right behind Caitlyn's.
2025 second most viewed WNBA draft of all time, with an average of 1.25 million viewers, with a peak of 1.46 million viewers, up 119% versus 2023. And I know what the question may be. 2023, 2020. Well, Ben, just out of curiosity, because we're all curious around here, right? We all want to be well informed. What is it compared to the 2024 draft? Well, thank you guys for asking. I appreciate that. Here we go. It's down 49%.
It's honestly wild. Networks are practically falling over themselves to broadcast Caitlyn Clark's games, and team owners are bending backward to move matchups into larger venues just to cash in on her star power. Yet somehow, we still see these petty little moves and subtle jabs aimed at downplaying her enormous impact. And sadly, this pettiness isn't isolated. Lately, there's been a strange wave of articles and TV segments seemingly determined to diminish Caitlyn's influence on the game, often hinting at deeper, more controversial reasons. For instance, take the recent piece from The Guardian. They ran an article essentially questioning whether Caitlyn's popularity was genuinely earned, or if it was more about her being a white player from Iowa, suggesting racial biases might be fueling the hype. Fans instantly reacted, calling it a misguided and unnecessary attempt to drag race into a scenario clearly defined by extraordinary talent and record-breaking viewership. And it wasn't just The Guardian. ESPN's own Monica McNutt jumped into the controversy too, going on the BBC and insinuating that Caitlyn's unprecedented fame and success were significantly boosted by her race and Midwestern background.
But she was a white girl from the middle of America. And so she represented a whole lot to a lot of people, whether that is truly what she prescribed to or not. We can all say she is a dynamic basketball player and a force both on the court and the marketing sense.
And then we had the recent USA Today article, where the author basically scolded Caitlyn Clark's fans, telling them they need to learn their lesson. According to the piece, fans apparently aren't allowed to hype up Caitlyn at the expense of other players, and everyone needs to be recognized. Because, yeah, the NBA, MLB, NFL, and NHL run around making statements about how important their bench warmers are to the success of the game. But here's the thing, there's nothing wrong about selling out arenas, breaking decades-old ratings records, and single-handedly driving unprecedented interest in women's basketball. Sure, every passionate fan base has a few people who go overboard. It's not like NBA Twitter is the cleanest place ever, but to insinuate a significant portion of Caitlyn's fan base is problematic or claim they're building her up unfairly? That's a massive reach. And fans didn't hesitate to call that out. No matter how they spin it, there's nothing false about Caitlyn Clark becoming a genuine sports phenomenon.
If ESPN videoed a Caitlyn Clark workout, it would have averaged more viewership than Rivals. Like, I mean that. Like, it genuinely is, it's scary, this type of hype. Like, I thought it was gonna die. I literally thought it was gonna die.
Here's the bottom line. The numbers don't lie. Caitlyn Clark is absolute ratings gold. Her fans are single-handedly fueling this incredible surge of interest, driving the league's popularity and revenue to heights it's never come close to reaching before. Sure, there are a handful of overly passionate fans who might step over the line. Every sport has them, on all sides. Spend 5 minutes scrolling on X, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Trash talk and rivalry debates happen everywhere. It's just part of being a fan. But these sweeping attacks aimed specifically at Caitlyn's supporters, the people who are literally packing arenas, tuning into broadcasts in record numbers, and buying merchandise, are totally misplaced. All that jealousy, negativity, and finger-pointing doesn't benefit anyone. In reality, Caitlyn's passionate fan base is a massive win for everyone connected to the WNBA, players, owners, sponsors, and fans alike. Rather than tearing them down, maybe it's time to acknowledge that these fans aren't just good for Caitlyn, they're good for the entire league.
Caitlyn Clark and the Fever has more games than the New York Liberty, which is completely strange to me, bro. And it's just weird, dog. It's just weird to me that they would say this about Caitlyn Clark. Hell, because whoever they plan is going to get the views too.
So, like, the non-Caitlyn Clark games continue to rise. They don't rise to the level of Caitlyn Clark games, but the non-Caitlyn Clark games continue to rise, and people keep fighting over the context. And the way I've tried to put this is there is no with and without Caitlyn Clark. It's not like it does this with Caitlyn Clark, it does this without Caitlyn Clark. It's all in conjunction with Caitlyn Clark. I mean, it's common sense, right? That when a whole bunch of new people join, in large part because of Caitlyn Clark, they then get interested in other things. They then start following other teams. And the platform then becomes bigger for new stars to rise.
Now, let's be clear. It's definitely not everyone who's grumbling or throwing shade at Caitlyn. In fact, several big-time WNBA legends have recently stepped up to show their support. These are veterans who truly understand the significance of this moment and the doors Caitlyn is opening for the future of women's basketball. Take Diana Taurasi, for instance. Not long ago, she went viral with that infamous sarcastic soundbite that seemed to doubt Caitlyn's ability to immediately impact the league. But in a surprising and refreshing twist, she recently took a moment on air to essentially walk it back and offer an apology of sorts, publicly acknowledging Caitlyn's undeniable star power and impact on the sport.
Thank you.
And congrats.
Now, unfortunately, reality is coming to me now.
And Lisa Leslie, one of the greatest to ever lace them up, recently jumped in to set the record straight too. She didn't mince words either. Lisa basically told the haters and critics around the league to cut it out and stop complaining about all the attention Caitlyn's getting.
I think it's all about money, marketing, and we cannot deny what Caitlyn Clark has done for the women's game. I'm not going to act like it's something that we don't see. She's had a huge effect. Call it the Caitlyn Clark effect. Yes, have we ever had teams have to get into larger arenas to play against a team? No, we have not. So if we have more eyeballs on the game and Caitlyn Clark brings that, why would we feel some kind of way because she has more television games?
We've also got Cheryl Miller, another legend and one of the most respected voices in basketball history, echoing exactly the same message. Cheryl didn't hold back either, openly challenging the critics and urging them to recognize what's unfolding right in front of their eyes.
Is she getting hyped? Yes. But she was in the backyard. She was putting in the same time, sometimes maybe more than you were.
Right.
And let's not overlook all the WNBA champions and veteran stars who actively chose to join the Fever this offseason, specifically because they wanted a chance to play alongside Caitlyn Clark. They clearly see the writing on the wall, and they want to be part of this exciting new chapter. Take Sydney Colson and Sophie Cunningham, for instance. Both have openly praised Caitlyn, publicly highlighting just how transformative she's been for the entire league.
She has changed our game in the best possible way in every way.
I like to watch what Caitlyn did for this franchise from afar, different perspective.
Yeah, no, it was nuts.
there's no other way to say it. It was nuts. I think, you're seeing a team that's now like affecting the economy in the city. You got people coming from out of town, out of state, out of the country, maybe even to see games, and so that's special.
Everyone around the league senses how big this moment is. They know exactly who's stirring the drink, who's driving the bus, who's changing the entire conversation about women's basketball. I mean, have you seen that Dude Perfect teaser featuring Caitlyn Clark?
The Hinkle Heave.
The Hinkle Heave, here we go!
The Dude Perfect teaser got millions of views practically overnight. Think about that. Caitlyn Clark is about to be featured to over 60 million subscribers on one of the world's most popular sports channels. And let's be honest, this single appearance will probably do more to elevate the women's game than an entire year of paid promotions by leagues like Unrivaled, no matter how much some folks don't want to admit it. Caitlyn isn't just impacting women's basketball, she's transforming the entire sports landscape. The latest news from ESPN about airing her preseason game nationally? That's just another chapter in the ongoing Caitlyn Clark effect. I'm telling you, this season is about to get absolutely nuts. If you're a Caitlyn Clark hater, you might want to find a comfy corner to curl up in, because this isn't going to be your year. The Fever have built a legit championship-level squad, they're dominating national TV schedules, and the momentum around Caitlyn is off the charts. Buckle up, because this ride is going to be wild. Thanks for watching.